lot of roundtables with a lot of writers, and I had this idea about how I thought a great way to pitch out a season would be. And I'm going to just demonstrate it in a second. But as I did this, Linda very kindly said, "Oh, that's really smart. That's really good. I really like what you're thinking, Liz." Turns out that what I thought of is just basically so universal that she had just been doing it with Michael Patrick King on The Comeback. So it works. When you kind of know where your characters are going in a season, the very first thing that we do is we have our writers come in and they think, wouldn't it be great if O'Hara broke her ankle? Wouldn't it be great if Eddie went to the bar? Wouldn't it be great if... And so we'll start writing things down. And then we realize, okay, now does that happen in the first third of the season, second third of the season, third third of the season? And so you start getting this pile of stuff, of events that you know are going to happen. And pretty soon you start having through lines for all of your characters. Inside of that, once you sort of figure out this is all the first third of the season, we know that this is going to happen. So what's a good season to do? Oh, let's just do season 1. We know that we knew early on, she can't get her ring off. She can't get her ring off. She's, you know what she's going to do? Mom's like, she's going to take a fucking hammer and break her finger. That's what she's going to do. Okay, I'm like, that kind of feels like that's last half of the season. It's a great idea. We came up with it in the second week of pitching, but that's hammer time. Okay, so then it's going to be, okay, Eddie's got to find out about Kevin. Eddie's got to find out about Kevin. Does Kevin find out about Eddie? No, that's going to be season 2. Put a pin in it. Eddie's going to find out. When is he going to find out? He's going to find out. Oh, that's going to be third also. So we started doing it, and O'Hara. What are some things that happened in season 1?
Well, I loved when they had that. I loved when O'Hara told her sister that she had a friend who was having an affair.
Okay, that happened in that we figured that's a good thing to go from the second half of the season, from the second third of the season into the third third. That's sort of a bridge moment. So we find out that O'Hara's got a sister and a mother, and she is going to tell the sister about Jackie's affair. And Jackie's going to have a horrible reaction to it. She's just going to say, I was using you as a role model. Oh, my God. I was saying, oh, my God, I don't know how she does it all. She's a nurse. She's married. She's got a boyfriend. And she manages it all. And my sister was just amazed because, she had an affair and left her husband and went to Paris. You take these little pieces and you this is the improv stuff. Linda and I will start talking. What we're doing right now, or what I'm doing, is what we'll be doing in the room, except I don't have a mic and neither does she. And we just do this in front of our writers. And we hope that somebody is writing it down, because it's kind of lightning in a bottle when it works. When it doesn't, it's just gibberish.
P.S. It's good to have a writer's assistant in the room that is just literally writing like dictation, because that's where. And then at night, sometimes we'll go through and highlight what we love. Go on.
So as we. So we'll start. I'm stuck on second season right now with the lockbox and but you just start realizing this is all. Let's establish that. Oh, I know. We're just showing what her life is. What if Jackie meets a school nurse that she doesn't like? What if the school says that your kid has anxiety? Like, wow, that feels like that's kind of should happen in the first half of the season. So we know that it's probably not in 1, 2, or 3. Let's put that in the middle. Grace has anxiety. Let's establish that.
Meanwhile, that might spark a writer to go, hey, what if Jackie and Grace, take tap lessons? Oh, cool. So then
we're going to need to lighten up the ring finger moment, because her breaking a finger is really, really horrible. And then Linda called me one night and said, oh, my God, I was watching Shirley Temple dancing on YouTube. And I used to tap dance when I was little because of my mom. But I'm like, I used to tap dance when I was little. And she's like, my mom taught tap. I'm like, oh, my God, I took tap. We're doing this. Tap dance has to be paired with ring finger because that is so dark.
That you need
Shirley Temple tap dance and to lighten it up.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Like that little delicate moment that you have where they all just were at Dunkin' Donuts and Fiona has a donut and Jackie accidentally spills some pill granules on the donut and then pretends there was a bug on it. Is that the kind of that's a delicate, lifelike moment. It's not like a sort of a broad strokes plot, but it almost operated for me like a broad strokes plot. It felt cataclysmic to me.
Well, we knew that we wanted a moment where one of the kids potentially ingested one of Jackie's drugs through carelessness, and it was Liz Flahive's script. It was season 1, I think it was episode 7, and they were
steak
it
knife,
just.
Yeah.
No. 7 was steak knife, and so it was 8. It was the one with
Dave.
Sam. Pupil. And and Linda is a big fan of. She's like, I want to shoot the family at the subway. I want like the above ground Queens vibe. I want all of this stuff. And it was just, we were sitting in our office, and it occurred it kind of at the same time. It's just like, oh my God, she's got to. Oh,
this was yours. I'm going to give you this one.
But it happened while we were talking. I mean, it doesn't necessarily matter who is the person that said it. It happened during one of our conversations.
Was it because there's sprinkles on donuts and that?
Yeah, because I love donuts, and I love my jimmies on my donuts.
And we also had something called macro shots that we've done there, here and there, and it's where you shoot with a phantom camera, and it's all very fast. And it was about catching. We'd have a list of phantom shots we'd want to do, whether it's you think it's heroin, you pull back and it's makeup, or it's liquid morphine, and we tried to do it with that. I don't think we ever ended up.
We didn't get the macro of the.
We slowed it down,
yeah.
But yeah.
But we knew that giving that to Edie, that Edie would feel a cataclysm of that. I mean,
daughter almost ingested this.
Edie's so sensitive. Okay, so like when we were doing the school nurse, and at the end, when the teacher says, that she doesn't put sun in her pictures. I was really, really, really adamant that I wanted Jackie to pull that picture out at work, and it wasn't my script. But I was really adamant that I wanted her to take a yellow highlighter and draw a sun in it and say, "There, was that so hard?" And Edie was like, the writer who scripted was like, "Fabulous, I love it. My name's on it. I love the idea. Do it." And Edie was like, "I don't think that I could do that to my child's artwork. I don't." I'm like, "Well, Edie, maybe you could cut out a Post-it note, because Post-its are yellow, and you could put it in there." And she's like, "No, that doesn't feel real. I know I have to do it. I have to do it." Like she walks into work and she is stripped down and ready to go. Like it's so interesting to me that somebody who's so talented and has such a vast array of instruments inside of, Edie doesn't have an instrument. Edie has an orchestra, and for her to say, like, that's the thing that was the hardest to do. It wasn't to hide guns or do all the crap that she did on Sopranos, or sew people up, or steal money, or, pull a catheter out of a guy. That's not scribbling, forcing a sun onto her child's thing was just, it took everything she had to do it.
Lizzie, saying that makes me think of something about what you asked about actor catnip, right? When you're writing a script, if you put, when Edie's the best at it, guilt washes over her face. If you can do that in an action line, I'm telling you, most actors will go, "Oh, we don't do that enough as writers. We don't give that small action to actors," and they love that. And the truth is, that's all it needs to be sometimes. Is just, and Edie's the best at it. She doesn't but you see the shame wash over her, and that is I think a really good technique to use when you're writing in order to hook actors. That is something that it's that simple. And
capitalize it so the network doesn't just gloss over it when they're reading
capitalize
dialogue.
It. It's true.
It's also like when you talk about giving actors something to do or something to play. It's not words. It's almost never words. And one of the things you guys were talking about with the addiction is it gives every scene subtext. Yeah. Every single thing she does has subtext. And the beauty of subtext is if we really know what's going on, they can have a conversation about the bread is stale. Exactly. But if we really know what's going on, and actors love that. They don't want to just come out and say everything except if they're in a David Kelly or Grey's Anatomy, and then they know, and they, Oh
yeah, there's a scene in the opening of in the first episode of season 3 where where a guy has been crushed, and one of the things that happens when your body is crushed and they pull the thing that is crushing you off. If you've been crushed too long, the blood starts sending out these little these toxic platelets. And because it's trying to coagulate or do something while it's under pressure, but then when that blood starts circulating, it's poisonous to every organ system that it hits. And so you go into renal failure, respiratory failure, and then heart failure. And if you lose one of if you go into renal failure, you have a 30% chance of dying. The second one that hits you, if you go into respiratory failure, now you've got a 90% chance. It gets exponential, and if 3 systems go out, you die. This is part of that Googling thing I was telling you about. Okay, so that conversation about I don't know if this is savable. Jackie saying it might be, O'Hara saying it's not. It's in the wake of the intervention that they had at the end of the other one. This is salvageable. No, it's not. Why are you giving up hope? And it's all hospital business, but they're talking about their relationship. And that's when it's super rewarding to be a writer in TV and get away with having two trains running at the same time, because you know that you're on point story-wise, but you know that you're telling a greater truth, and you know that you have happy actors, and happy actors give awesome performances.
Right. When I started getting, as I got older and I was more comfortable with getting emotional, the more I wanted to pull away from the words, because you feel more, I think, if you say less. And when you really think about, at times in your lives where you've been really upset or you're feeling something, you don't just necessarily blab it out there. You conceal it. You don't want to be too much. And that also gives the actor something to do. And yeah, stage directions are great.
And I think tempo is really important in story, And one thing I can show you, sort of just give you an idea of what we do when we actually break a story, is what we'll do is we'll have this board. We have boards everywhere in the room, and so we have these boards off to the side, and then our main board, we'll have it just completely clear.
So this board would be like an idea board, right?
It would be the preliminary board would be like the first big beats of the season. Then it would be broken into the 12 columns that are the 12 episodes, and it would get more specific.
Does that eraser
from there.
not work?
I'm just being lazy. But so let's just say this is clean. What we do, and I would tell everyone in the world to get one of these and just put your computers down for a second when you're thinking story, because there's something that helps when you write something down and step back from it and just look at it, almost like a piece of music,
Do you ever color code? Because I always like to color code.
We did a little bit sometimes I drove them nuts, so you guys with different colors, and, sometimes but it literally is, if we're starting a show and we kind of know what it is, you literally, it kind of ends up being sort of funny. It's like it's first part of the story, second part of the story, but we literally will do like interior, Jackie's house, okay? And it's like Jay enters, Zoe is there, and then you
That's
kind of
scene.
No, and then we talk about, okay, this is where she finds out this. Okay, then we literally will go through, then now we got to go to the hospital, All Saints. So you kind of lay it out until you have all of your scenes, but you have to step back and you literally go, well, wait, but Jackie, but Coop, but no, but wait, and usually what we start is always Jackie. Everything has to kind of go through where she's at. But
Jackie's been away too long, or we've been in the we've been in the hospital for like 6 things in a row. We need to get out.
Oh, you're right. You know what? We can't go to All Saints yet. Let's wait on that. Let's go here. Let's have her go right from the house to the school, and then we'll go to All Saints. So it's a lot of Lizzie and I trading off at the board, but it's so important. I can't say this enough that I think technology has messed us up a little bit, that you get so lost in your Apple-ness of it that
there's nothing that beats people who actually take dictation. Nobody can go as fast as that, and not only that, you have it all there.
And again, don't get bogged down by all of it. Go through, highlight what makes sense to you, and then just keep the gold. But then we will literally, hopefully at the end of the day, the whole board will be filled, and we kind of look at the story and go, this scene needs to go. But
I know it looks like I'm being rude, but here's pictures of our board.
Oh, great.
That's what I do.
Oh.
So this will be.
Oh, they can see that.
No, but, I have hundreds of them. Well,
But you're so smart that she would take the pictures of it.
I take a picture of it, and it's like, because the order might not be right, or there'll be another partner. Then we'll have like the little craft board. It's like, great idea, cute, or you're humoring somebody with a bad pitch. But then you end up having it, and you're like, oh my God, that's going to be right. O'Hara is going to buy stock in Quantum Bay and try to buy the hospital back. Doesn't happen, but like that's what I'm looking at right here. But you have, I think this will be giving away all the secrets of it. But like up here it's blue, then it's green, then it's purple, then it's orange, and I can bring it home. And this is something that didn't happen, so I can read it. Cruz, having just been stabbed in the neck by God, nearly bled out. Jackie walks in on it. Holds the wound so that he can sew himself shut. He's still in the exam room with her. Somebody sees, I can't say, his heart goes out. In fact, he might something happened. Her heart gives out. And he might have to, while she's holding his neck shut, give her CPR. This is something that didn't happen. But he's too, somebody's too weak to administer an epi. And I have a whole scene. This says last scene of season 4. It's not how the season ends, but in the first couple of weeks, we had to have something that we were writing to, and we thought this showdown where these two people are like in this Quentin Tarantino bloodbath together in the pharmacy could be hilarious.
So I'm curious to know what
stays in here, and it's always
when you say that didn't make it in, can we talk for a second about what you realized you wanted to have be the thing, the final thing, and why it was so much more right for you? Because I think it's really important, we talk about just what's that clicky feeling of
it's a living, breathing organism, and it grows the way that it wants to. And certain things, when you're shooting it, okay, remember? Okay, tell the Coop O'Hara story from season 3 when the two of them were in the office.
Oh, we had this scene with Coop and O'Hara that was like, we were at the monitor going, oh my God, they're just crackling. There's just a chemistry there that we hadn't kind of combined those two.
2.5 seasons in, we were in our 30th episode.
It was like, holy shit. And that blew our minds for a whole other story thing, because it just, your actors will inform you sometimes. Like, wow, and do weird pairings, especially if you've gone on for a while,
We didn't know Bobby Cannavale as an actor when we were pitching this out theoretically. We were just excited that this cool guy was doing it, and we liked him, but we hadn't worked with him yet. When we worked with him, we realized he's not that guns blazing guy, and Jackie's not going to be in a place where, I can tell you exactly what happened. We were like, what would cause her to have a heart attack? It would be losing her kids in a custody battle. Why would she lose her kids in a custody battle? And it's like, we can't go down all of these roads without having her do something that we don't want her to do. I'm not going to say what it is. It's like, so ultimately it just sort of gets taken off the table. But we had to have something to give to the network in the first couple of weeks. We're like, okay, so big giant bloodbath in 410, you're gonna love it.
I make a complete connection to that, to when we're just at home writing. We're not on the air. We're not, we don't have a show. Mm-hmm. We don't have actors, but we have to have something. In other words, it's like maybe I can make that connection of going, it's better to have something that we're thinking is the thing, but we'll let our subconscious keep looking, for that other thing that might even be better. Like, we won't be so satisfied, like, oh, that's perfect. We'll let ourselves not be so satisfied, but we'll still write to that thing, because other things will start to bloom. Exactly. It's too, you know what I mean? It can get too depressing to keep going. It's just not good.
But that's Linda's point, to don't throw out that first draft. It's like, yeah, you have this placeholder, you have this placeholder of an ending, because it might not be the right ending, but you're writing towards something. And in that writing towards the thing, when people say it's not the destination, it's the journey, that's what a season of television is. It's like you know where you're trying to get to. But as these characters maneuver their way through the season in your writing and on the monitors, certain other things start occurring to you that are so much better than anything that you and all your brain cells combined and all of your writers' brain cells combined would never come up with, because it's just some funny little moment where, O'Hara looked at Coop in just a quirky enough of a way that it's like, oh my God, I want to change the last half of the season.
Awesome. And back just to the board for a second, I just think you need to unhook parts of it's physiology sometimes. It connects to your emotion and everything, that you just need to stop typing and just grab a marker and look at your work in a different way. It'll help you love it a little more too, because I way back when, I've been doing this for so long, I was one of the last people to go to computer on my first job, because I had my typewriter, damn it. What? I'm writing on Gunsmoke. No, it was 1991, and it was the new Carol Burnett show, right? It was my first job, and it's like, no, I'm going to type on my typewriter, because I didn't know how to use a computer. I didn't, Tolan and I had an Apple IIe back in New York that just looked orange, and I never knew how to. So all I'm saying is I used to do first drafts, and I did on 70's show too. I still sometimes do by hand. I will turn off my computer, and I will literally get a legal pad out, and I will
do that.
Okay, yeah. So we lived together. There's a box of stuff from her office from when she moved out of Carsey Warner sitting in the downstairs shower. I lift it up, I pull it out, there's a yellow pad a legal pad that has the episode of The Pill written from beginning to end, which was my favorite episode from the 70s. But on her legal pad, she's like, yeah, I said it just poured out of me. But there it is, just on a legal pad, the whole episode, beginning to end. Wow. Boom.
Because, sometimes your Apple cursor can be a little punishing. Seriously, just get off the screen for a second and just tell the story in a different way. It's almost like getting the putty in your hands,
It also slows it down a little bit.
Yeah.
When you've got the pen in the hand and the hand. I do like writing on a computer, but I like revising.
What's nice is it connects from your head down your heart. You just kind of just comes out in a different way. So if you're ever stuck, do that a little bit and then go back to your computer. I mean, use that as your first draft and then.
You know what happens I find that when I'm writing, I'll be writing on the computer, and then all of a sudden I'll have this just like brain flame fart thing. I don't know what, and I've got a pen and a pad next to me, and I'll write out the scene so fast, and then I'll go back to what I was doing because I know that that's going to go in later. I mean, inspiration for me can never happen. I'm not going to catch it when I'm doing this. I'll be doing this with all of the outline, and I'm getting it right, but something crazy and wild happens, and it always happens with a pen.
I love that we're talking about this, but I was really procrastinating on something I was working on, and I hate being early to anything, which means I'm always late because it's just really hard to time it right. And I got to a dinner early, and then that's the other thing. It's like I don't like just sitting there, like I have to read, I have to be doing something. And I realized I had a pad and pen in the car. I'd been procrastinating and I was there and I had nothing else to do. And I ended up writing a scene that virtually didn't change. But and then I realized too, a good way to write is just get places early where I can't go anywhere or do anything and I'm just stuck. But I just stopped doing that.
That's really true.
Should we go have more questions? Yes. Lady in the striped shirt whose name is Mary Jo Smith.
Thanks. Wanted to ask about Acolytus and the statues and where that came from, and I was so obsessed with that episode and
that
written by Liz Brixius.
No, not written by me. No, dude, it's your script.
It is?
Yeah.
One. No, I'm talking about
the opposite of
I'm talking
ego
about
and taking credit, isn't it?
It actually, we have this magical boy in our writer's room named Rajiv Joseph who wrote a play called Bengal Tiger at the Baghdad Zoo. And he is, part of his family is from India, part of his family is from Ohio, and the Indian part is this insanely Catholic part where he's got like an uncle who's a priest, an aunt who was a nun. I think his mother at one point might have been a nun. Kid you not. And he was obsessed with the deconsecration of a chapel at NYU and brought the story in. And it was just heartbreaking for him. And he's like, what would happen if they deconsecrated the chapel? I'm like, oh my God. I said, what happens during deconsecration, Raj? He's like, they take out all the relics. I'm like, oh my God.
Wait, that was my episode.
Yes. Yes.
It all goes by.
So we built a scenario by which, and it played into the themes of the story. One of the things in the pilot that we really wanted to do is have this sort of HMO, fluorescent lit part of the hospital that looked like an addition from maybe like 1977, and then the beautiful old part, the chapel and the hallways. And so it was a great way to reiterate and reintroduce that theme. It's like, when you guys were rezoned for the addition, that was deconsecrated, and those statues are actually ours.
But it was
also thinking of the episode you wrote. What's so beautiful when they're in the truck, and then remember because you got in the truck and you set the statues perfectly.
I piss union people off. I get it. And I go fuss with wardrobe, and I go change the set, and I grab things, and they don't. I don't really piss them off because I'm.
But you also had, from the pilot, you have Zoe say, you're a saint. And there's a ton of that, the Catholic imagery, and even in the title sequence,
she wears that necklace in every episode.
She wears the necklace, and just like shot after shot of, religious statues. And it really looks like they're in a church for a lot of it. And just this sort of, whole idea of.
Well, All Saints. Yeah,
and all of that was so cool because I'm just a boring Presbyterian. I was like, Lizzie, tell me more about your crazy Catholic ways.
I went to a convent high school.
Wow. And even the fact that they decide to send the kids there.
And she comes up with Immaculate Virgin for the name of the school. Come on, that's genius.
Yeah, and her, it is. It's
which is so much better than Dirty Virgin.
I'm remembering that thing that you said about how, and I really agree with you, that it's hard to do 12-step on screen in a way that's fresh, I think you said. And when you have something like that where you're going, wow, this has really been done, and I hate how it's done. It always feels real embarrassing to me, or real cheesy, or whatever the word would be. Does that inspire you to go, okay, there's got to be another way to do this? Or
Yeah, I think you should do that actually on any scene you're writing. Like if two
Me
people meet
too.
at a diner, make it different. Make what's going on there, because it can be just so you're stuck in a rut. That's what was so fun about having them talk, and all of a sudden a woman starts choking behind them, and they're not going to move. I'm off the clock. Oh, geez, there she goes. Okay. Got to go save her. And it just made us laugh, the thought of they're having this intense conversation.
and the
this
fact that
woman's
she said,
choking.
now you owe me lunch.
Yeah.
I mean, that was just,
P.S. Poor Eve had never done. She's from theater. She had never done a scene. So we're watching going, oh, dear God, someone better tell her to stop eating so much bread, because she doesn't know we're going to do coverage, which means, honey, you're going to have to do this scene 1,000 times. She's like, oh my gosh. I mean, we were laughing. It was like King Henry. She's like, oh my God, and her stomach's going to expand. Stop eating so much.
you want to know a weird thing? It's like you look a little like Eve Best to me.
Who, I do?
You do.
No, she, yeah.
A
I
little
was going to
bit.
say, I don't.
Thank you. I love my.
Don't you see the
Her
resemblance?
Her hair looks like Jackie.
Your hair is like Jackie, and your face is
Oh, but like if Jackie had a good cut.
Here's what happened. Jackie had long hair when we met her. Edie did, and she said, "Would you mind terribly if I cut my hair?" And I said, "No." She said to both of us, "Do you care if I cut my hair?" We're like, "No, not at all." But she didn't like the way it looked in season 1, and then she's like, "Liz, for season 2, do you mind if I go to your people? I mean, could I get your color and your cut? I mean, is that going to bother you?" And I said, "No, not at all. But you better just know that I'm going to endure people coming up to me saying, 'You have Edie's hair.'" I'm like, "Edie has my hair." But now she has extensions.
Now we know the secret.
Now she has extensions. So she's got long hair again.
Well, since we're talking about her,
I have no boundaries about any of this.
I appreciate that. I can't help but I brought up before about how there are all these men who want to have sex with her, and you were saying no, that wasn't part of the attraction for Edie. But I can't help but say, we were talking about this today. I can't think of another show where a woman looks the age that Edie looks, and also isn't made up. She's not wearing makeup most of the time. She looks like she's not wearing makeup, like flat out. And she has that short hair, and she doesn't dress sexy, and yet she's having all this great sex, and she has all these guys want to have sex with her. And I think that is really interesting. I don't think there's anything like that on TV.
Not in the United States, in
Not-
England.
it's
Seriously.
it's not
because
allowed.
I love all these BBC shows, and I watch like a ton of those mysteries. And like Linda LaPlante will always write, there's like a somewhat just average looking middle-aged woman, and everybody wants to fuck her. I'm like, I'm moving to England. I'm so there. I'm on my way.
People complain about that on Facebook, but there are a lot of, it's like as if, and I know there's no way that all these guys want to sleep with her. I'm like, okay, first of all, whoever wrote that, you lack vision.
Yeah.
You know what? Number one. Number two, yeah, Tony Soprano was so effing hot. Everybody wanted to bone him. Double standard. And what a horrible observation. What a horrible observation that it's like, oh, it's unlikely that these people, it's like, no, I think it's cool. She is powerful. Do you want to know how many people given the chance to sleep with Hillary Clinton would sleep with Hillary Clinton just because of the aura that she has? She's not physically the most stunning lady on the planet.
Hillary's
but she's
getting a lot.
But I know. No. But it's like, why, it's powerful. The part of Jackie's appeal is that she does mow down everybody in her way. And part of that is...
Plus, it's part of her addiction, too. I mean, you become cross-addicted. So for her, sex can sometimes take the place of a pill. So, we knew it was going to be even deeper than that,
Right. But it's still brave. I mean, overused word perhaps, but it just seems to me that is just really out there. To me, that's a very subversive stance for you guys to have written and for you guys to have written with that particular actress. I just think it's cool.
Part of it, too, was we knew we could because of her scenes with Gandolfini that were fucking powerful. That was like crazy. You get why they were together, and those scenes, there were some crazy scenes she had to do with him, and purely because of how big he was and how she held her own. It was amazing it's like watching a boxing match with this little guy pummeling the big guy, and so it's really cool to see sex doesn't have to be written like all sex is written. Sex can be a weapon. Sex can be funny. Sex can be, I got to get your mind off of something, always.
Linda did something amazing when we were doing season 1 or 2 when she's in the pharmacy with Eddie having sex and he says, he's like, really, right here? And she's like, yeah, but nothing fancy. Edie was very, very nervous to play. She's like, I don't know that Jackie would have sex in the middle of the day sitting on the farm. And it was Linda. I'm like, what? I don't know how to handle this. And Linda said, I got it. And she walked up to Edie and she said, I challenge you. I challenge you to find the part of Jackie that would do it. Like, it's, we didn't think that it was weird because it popped out of our heads. But even for the actor, it was weird for her to think, why is this guy pulling at me so hard and how do I handle it? And it was Linda just calming her down saying, I just challenge you to get your brain around the fact that, he loves you and you do want his drugs and you do love him and you are a little bit reckless. We're addicts. We're restless. I mean, a lot of being a writer in television is being able to protect your vision, and you can't always trust that. You can't always leave that to the director because at this point Edie just didn't know how, and Edie rarely asks a question, but it's like knowing how to translate one more time to your actor to have it make sense. And that was.
And sometimes you have to translate to them too. Actors will sometimes just be so lost in the scene that they need to know a specific, like for instance, that moment, it's like, Edie, we smash cut after. It's quick. We're on you guys, nothing fancy, smash cut. Oh, okay, that kind of, sometimes you have to guide them through, so it's not like we're going to linger on this, because honestly, sex scenes are so hard for actors, it's so awkward, but if you say, this is what this is.
I don't think that I would be awkward in sex scenes.
You know what? I think you're right.
I saw Edie Falco in Frankie and Johnny on Broadway, and she was like walking around nude. I would fake sex billion times before I would walk around nude.
Yeah, and she's
even
got
in my
a rockin'
own
body,
house.
man. She is fit.
Oh
man.
yeah,
She is
for real.
Yeah.
Oh, we're gonna take. We
Yes. Let's get more questions. Brian like that. Hi, Brian. Yes.
Jan Oxenberg.
Everyone in this audience, not everyone.
Hello.
A lot of
This
people.
is fantastic. You guys should have your own show. I have a question about what you said about Showtime. You said that when you started the show, they had their little box where all the characters had to be sort of flawed and, falling apart and evil somewhat, Dexter, and that now it's different. And, of course, there's a different head of Showtime. So how is it different now? And how does that affect your show?
Well, we did 2 years with Bob and 2 years with David Nevins, and so how was it different? We missed Bob a lot. It was hard when he left, but it's kind of then you just pick up and you keep, I think David was a smart guy. He knew, you can't. The show's working. You can't completely retool this or change it. We were in a good place, so. Well, I
don't think it's really that different a template. They have central characters like Claire Danes in Homeland is a conflicted, drug-addicted, psychotic break central character with high stakes around her. Don Cheadle is, sort of like this charming cad who da-da-da-da-da, I think that they still like to have their artsy star at the center of something that is off-center.
3 weeks ago, we had Howard Gordon and Alex Ganza here who did Homeland, and apparently David Nevins said, our signature is these unbelievably flawed characters, and we've got Nurse Jackie, and we've got, Mary Louise Parker, and we've got Dexter. Californication, you've got to come up with something, and that's how they came up with the bipolar disorder. So it works great.
Showtime for fucked up people.
Yeah.
Well, but see what that Showtime for fucked up people thing does is it attracts actors. okay, you come up with a character like that, you get somebody like Claire Danes going, oh my God, I can be bipolar and work for the CIA. Are you out of your mind? Sign me up.
Catnip.
You get them. That's how you get them.
No, you're right.
And
Absolutely.
she's also a sex addict.
Hello.
Yeah.
I haven't watched that show. Really?
That's so good.
yeah. Oh, the
my
show's
God, it's
way
so
good.
good.
What time? No, all new channel at Showtime.
Have you walked away from the screen to such an extent that you're actually not watching TV? I mean, it's possible.
With
Well, you're busy.
with kids and everything, we don't have. It's funny. I don't watch as much TV. Yeah, it's a bummer.
So how many
Miss
kids do you
TV.
have?
I have 4.
Whoa!
Yeah, 4 stepkids. Yeah,
Wow. That's a full life.
it's a full life.
So that gives hope to anyone in the audience who has kids.
Which, by the way, just if you better love. I mean, writing can be torturous unless you love it, and the whole idea of, Lizzie's been so patient through all of my changes these last couple of years of missing being home and being there and all of this stuff. So it's, it is. It shouldn't be so hard, and you got to love what you do, otherwise you're going to resent all of it. So, including what you're writing about, and oh God, don't try to write to please anybody. That's the best thing I think I could tell anybody. Just please yourself. I love making this one laugh. Or if she shows me something, I'm like, oh my God, fucking genius, I don't know. I don't know. I hope that helps.
That has definitely been the consensus of all. We've had so many interviews that people are so different. The writers are so different, and their styles are so different. But that's the thing everyone agrees on. It's like, don't be writing something you don't totally care about. That you can't completely get fascinated by.
Another thing that happens when you're a writer is you're going to end up pitching a lot. And I was going in to pitch. I was going in to talk about a show that was not working anymore, and they wanted. It was a job that they were considering having me come in and take over the show, and I knew that there was I knew that if I sat down and thought long and hard, I could know what it is that they want me to say. I could figure out what it is that they want to hear and deliver it. And this was all very recently. And I thought, but suppose I get that job. That's, I'm going to go in and tell them what I really think. And I ended the meeting by saying, look, I am not gunning for this job. I'm giving you my honest opinion about what I think is wrong. And this is not, I don't think it, because if I tell you what I think you want to hear and you're dumb enough to believe that that's my truth, it's going to be a bad marriage. Because when you get in business and television in particular, your end goal is to be on the air for several years, and these are the people you're in business with. So as much as you can be yourself on the page and really advocate for that, then that people are responding to what you really think and what your voice really is. I mean, you can't concoct a voice and maintain it.
Yeah, it's really.
And it doesn't have to literally be autobiographical. What's so interesting about listening to you guys is you clearly made up these characters, but you put so much of yourselves into it, and that's what makes it fun. It makes it fun. It's got to be fun for the writers too, not just for the actors.
We were lucky too to be in New York. We were kind of isolated from here, and we're just new back here. And so the other thing I would say to you guys, if you are living in LA, stop reading the trades, stop reading blogs, and don't get caught up in. There can be this desperate energy here in LA. Hi, what are you doing? How are you? Well, I'm doing this show. I said, no, how are you? Not what are you doing? It's like you have your life that fuels you as a writer. I mean, I don't care if you're taking walks at Runyon Canyon or loving your dog or something.
Grinding your oxy.
Grinding your oxy and sneaking it into the toothpaste. Whatever works for you. I mean, it sounds cliche, but, it really, otherwise you're going to just be strangled in this whole idea of what LA means and oh, God, I got to write this thing because zombies are big. Yeah, zombies are big now. I'm going to write I know that's the one show I do watch because the 13-year-old son watches. He loves it. So I'm like, oh, my God. He's like, what's
Walking
this?
Dead.
And Game of Thrones, blast. And now Game of Thrones is a great example of, start a scene in an interesting place. There's always something going on. I flip through and there's the king is slaughtering a deer, talking to his son about power. I mean, fucking great. That was awesome. I mean,
my favorite guy. And
they did. but interesting. There's always something just weird and off and cool. And, the thing that Lizzie and I would always say in the room, and just ask yourself a lot of weird questions about what you're writing. Can I go a left turn here? Is this interesting enough? Wait, can I go 5 more minutes? Sometimes we'll say, let's stay on this. I know this is weird, but let's stay on it. And then Rajiv, usually that involves some sort of somebody being split open and guts and entrails and Catholic weirdness. It's all cool. You never know what's going to come out of everybody,
I think that's really good advice.
Questions?
Questions?
Well, you got to be so tired of us.
Quiet little audience.
Yes. Sometimes it takes some courage to ask a question in front of people.
Yeah.
Not for Winnie or I or them.
I'm just wondering when you, in terms of your writing staff and dividing up who does what episode, how that comes about, and is it a natural someone pitches a story and is like, well, that is yours, or?
We're complete control freaks, as I think you should be as when you create a show. Lizzie and I will figure out what the season is, and we will kind of keep talking about, well, we kind of have an idea who's going to write what.
What we kind of do is the people who are hired first, the people who are doing the show the longest will be first up. Do you know what I mean? We kind of just so that there's no weirdness about favoritism or anything
like that.
Liz
Flahive has been with us from day one, and so it made sense that she would,
She goes early in the season so that if somebody's going to be repeating, then she's in line to repeat. But
because off of this, after we completely literally break this out and then do an outline, we're constantly giving notes on the outline and then do a draft. But the only way you tee up a writer, I think, on a staff for success is to break it with them and then go.
And the other thing that we do is, like, Rajiv was really in love with statues, and he was also really in love with the idea of a child's pageant of the saints, the litany. And he brought it to the room, and he loved it. Ellen Ferry was in love with Ellen Ferry brought the story in about the Mohawk kite runner guy. And the iron worker who worked, she loved that. And so when we were doling out stories, it's like, when we were doling out episodes, I wanted to make sure that each writer had some piece of that was theirs, that they were passionate about, and asked, of all the stuff we put out, of all the stuff on the boards and all the stuff of all of the documents, what do you feel the most strongly about? Because, it would really suck when such a simple thing to have happen is the person who's in, you want them to bring their best, and that's something they're naturally passionate about. And it's not like it's a giant move in Jackie Land. It's like, look, this is a patient story that this person was actually connected to and that they love, and it means a lot to let them do that. We just let them do it.
It feels empowering.
Like Rick Cleveland had an experience with cystic fibrosis, so that was his script, which was awesome. So we do try to, but as far as someone coming and pitching a story and going, okay, go write it, no. I mean, every staff is different, but we found this was such an intimate voice, you kind of had to really be on it in order to tee up a writer for success.
Do you guys take a pass after? Do you ever rewrite and take a pass? So everybody just knows that's another ground rule that you're gonna.
I'll tell you what, you're gonna get rewritten, but the nice boss will not put their name on the script. That's.
I was just literally taught that is just the rudest, most.
You don't do it. You're already the boss.
Wrong.
You already get to be the boss, and you already got to have final say on what the script was.
You would never do that. No.
So, yeah.
And you just, I tell everyone, go by the 4 agreements by Ruiz. It's about don't take anything personally, don't make assumptions. Okay, those are the first 2 of the agreements, and you just can't take it personally when you're rewritten. If you're new on a staff, you're going to learn and go, oh, hey, I worked with Chuck Lorre, for 19 episodes. I learned from him, though. I did, and it was tricky as hell, but, you can learn from even dark spirits. But I hear he's doing better.
You hear what?
He's not as dark, maybe, as he was.
Said she heard
maybe.
That he was
Why would you hear that?
I'm interested because we haven't really touched on this too much, although you mentioned it. First of all, I'm a huge 70s Show fan. Huge. And love the 70s Show. And I'm just interested, just from a show like that is so different from what you're doing now. But what did you take away from that? I mean,
again, it's all character. It's all about character. That show was about a bunch of kids who, in the 70s, they had to entertain themselves, So, okay. And again, we took small moments in these ordinary people's lives, which I love. We'd always say on Nurse Jackie, it's little earthquakes that mean a lot to ordinary people,
Right.
And we did 22, 24 episodes a year. I did 4 years of that. It was crazy, but it taught me, again, with Bonnie and Terry Turner, who are just the best character. And Carsey Warner, it was Roseanne, Brett Butler, all these things were about character driven,
Well, especially for series, because unlike a movie where you want to start here and there and kind of finish the story, it's all about these ongoing relationships. And so they really have to be character moments. And I think a huge mistake people can also make is if you establish that there's these big giant moments, you will burn out the show in 6 episodes. So if you find the huge momentous consequences of these small moments, it'll...
Yeah.
Kevin, can we get some more water for our...
One thing I love about the pilot, or one of the many things, is that when that incredible scene where they're in the chapel and she's in the wake of that guy having died on the table. It's interesting because to me that sort of told me, that and a few and that quote, the T.S. Eliot quote, and the other quote from Augustine. It really showed me what the whole series was going to be. It was this kind of, somebody just died, but they were also talking about sex and his boyfriend, and it was so casual, but it was really also, you could feel it on her face. You were lingering on her face, and you could see how much it was.
No, that's a really good point, and about popping out of your writer head and getting out of the scene. Because sometimes when you're in the scene, you're so lost in it, you just got to pop out of it and go, what is the reaction I can get? Be an editor. Think about it visually. What is it I can get from? What can flash over this? What is the subtext of what she's talking about? I mean, I think if you can open up your other heads a little bit, your director and producer head will help your writer a little bit. Open it up.
I love that.
That's one of my favorite things, is she's talking about one thing but means something else.
So, yeah. I mean, anytime we've said this already, I guess I've said it already, but we've all been saying a version of this, but anytime a scene can have several reasons for existing, it's better. Because a scene that's just about one thing is very flatlined to me.
Yeah, great. Hold on, wait for the microphone.
Earlier, you were talking about how a scene gels, like the actors bring it to a level that you didn't imagine. Is there a recurring reason when a scene falls flat or just not working? Is there like a something we did that again, that happened again, it happened again?
There's some truth that's not playing. There's something that's like the wrong notes being hit. Whether, we've had scenes where it's like, why isn't this working? Oh God, get up, stand up, you're behind the desk. That's not working. Oh God. Or you know what? We had this great scene between O'Hara and Jackie. Very important this season that our director had as a walk and talk, which is, as you're moving and walk and talk, right? And they're talking and walking, and it just was not working. And
never. And I'm going to be.
And you wrote it as sitting.
I was fucking pissed off because I wrote it that they were sitting, and because it was a sitting scene. It was a sitting. He's like, I have this beautiful idea for it to have it be walking along, and I was like, great. I want him to try it.
3 takes, and we went, stop. Go sit. And Lizzie went right over here, and it was this perfect spot. We shoot exterior Bellevue this year, which is All Saints, and it grounded the scene. It's like sometimes there's something going on physically with something. Sometimes your lighting is too bright. Sometimes there's too many extras. There's something, so you just have to step back and go, something's not right.
And the thing is, it'll be universally, everybody will know that it's wrong. And it's like, I don't believe that when I write something that I've written it right. I don't believe that that's the right thing to do. It's just the way that I saw it in my head when I wrote it. So I'm very happy to have an actor play with it or a director play with it. So is Linda. We're loose. It's like we want this to be the best version of it possible. But when it was just not working, and it's like, you guys, the solution is right there. It's right there. It's right there. They're on the bench. It's
usually somebody's overthinking it. Yeah.
And it's frustrating because it's like 35 degrees out, and we're outside, and it's like if I'd have just been that like hard ass and said, no, Bob, we're not going to let you try it your way, but that's not me. And I hope, I guess, in many respects that it never is, because we ultimately got what we wanted anyway.
And sometimes you do get a scene in a show that in your long and it just doesn't quite work and you end up cutting it. We haven't cut a whole lot of scenes. We've been pretty good, but sometimes something just doesn't. Sometimes you have the whole thing put together, you go, oh, wow, that doesn't resonate as much as I thought. And so
there's stuff, by the way, that feels like it doesn't resonate on the set, but then when you start cutting it together and editing, it's when you take the air out and you push in on, I mean, sometimes it's just magical. Sometimes humor happens way after it's been written, way after
nothing to do with
shot.
It's like, just know that the writing sometimes, your editing is as much as a friend to your writing as
it's just as much
the
a
editing
script
is
as
like
the
a
script.
whole other draft because you can shape it. And just by what you show, by what you take out, by what you do in close or what.
I'm going to lay some Michael Patrick King on you again from the pilot. We were really, really long in our pilot, and there were certain things that didn't turn out the way that we wanted it to. And we knew, like Linda had written this exquisite scene that and it just, and it didn't get shot the way it was supposed to get shot, and we were really upset. And Michael Patrick King looked at her, and I think I was there, or he said it to me, and I don't remember, but he said, "You can't focus on what you don't have. All you can focus on is what you have." So when you look at a final cut or you look at a final draft, when a network has gutted something, or when the cut comes back and it's all wrong and you just know how great it could have been, get rid of the how great it could have been as quickly as you can, because nobody's ever going to know. For them, for the rest of the world, it doesn't exist anyway. So take what you have, focus on it, and make it the best version of what it can be. But don't think about what you don't have. It will do you no good.
And with that in mind, think about scenes like, do you really need 4 people entering? I mean, do you really need that? Sometimes you do. It's just like, again, make your script producible, but also, is it really the marrow of the story you want to tell?
What's your story? What is
How is
the
this
story?
furthering things?
That's
Yeah.
another
Right.
thing that we keep talking about for those of you who've been to the whole series is distilling. And I love how you said the marrow, because that's even a different image, obviously, than distilling. But take out everything you don't need. The thing that I like about editing too is because you really don't have a ton of stuff that you want or need, but it becomes like a puzzle. And I like the kind of challenge of, not only how can I get across what I wanted, but now that I'm restricted, how do I make it work? But, it's interesting, too, because this goes back. I mean, I think the weird thing is boundaries are really, really good. And I think people go, I hate boundaries. But one of the things that Winnie was talking about is just giving yourself something to grab hold of. It gives you, rather than just everything being your choice, which will make you just like pass out, to give yourself a specific thing. And do you find that it helps to have a limited amount of time to tell your stories?
Oh, I love this format. I think the single camera premium cable is great because you get 26 minutes. I mean, you single camera on network right now is 21 minutes, I think. I remember back in the day we were told it's under 26 minutes. What's going on? And now it's 20.
It's like a big long sketch.
26 minutes is actually really great for this format. It's like it's just right. And what's nice is people say, oh, it feels so short. So that's nice.
It does, and it's very addictive. I mean, I know I said that to you when I first met you, but no pun intended, but it's so addictive. I can't stop watching them once I start. Yes, you have a question?
I do have a question.
I love
cool,
that you
yeah.
get yes, you should get a question.
Question,
Thank
lady.
you.
you
I
have a question.
appreciate that. I'm listening to you talk about being a poet and then how you bring that to the page. And one thing that I keep hearing come up that's a tool in your toolkit is double entendre. So when I think about that, there's a lot of flow that's there. But then when I think about writing for television, it seems to be very technical. So how do you get that flowy double entendre to translate into the scene?
Don't think of it as technical. Think of it as structure. And so, like, the structure is just the shelf that you're going to put your characters, your stories, and all of that in. And what I think what I got the most from poetry, and Winnie and I were talking about this, is, if you read one of my scripts, there's more white on that page than, I'm so conscious of, I'm all about economy, and it's just, it just forces you to not waste the reader's time, the actor's time, anybody's time. And I'm very conscious of how much exposition I'll put in, because my training is really truly looking at pages that are, interspersed with lines, and that's really not that different from television. I mean, it's like writing it's a sonnet or a rondel or anything that has kind of a strict format, but don't look at it so much as technical as in this is the format that I apply my dreams to, that my talent, my words, my thoughts, my stories.
Would you be willing, since you brought up what your scripts look like, to maybe provide the library with a couple scripts and maybe an outline, just so that if people want to take a look at, how you write on the page, that would be great. So maybe Kevin can follow up, and because we like to have stuff available in the library so you guys can really. I mean, this series is about peeking in the window and seeing what really goes on. So that would be great.
We'll send over Ring Finger because it's got both of our moments of idea in it, and you can and since I'm the one that actually has the name on the script, I was the one that wrote the. You can see, you'll see what I do on a page. I never like having more than 4 lines of exposition at a time. I like to break things up so that it feels airy. I want the reader to have a fast read. I'm very particular about where a page breaks. I don't like
gorgeous outline. You're going to see how you really can take somebody by the hand through something, because you should work out all your stuff in an outline. You just should.
You guys do a beat sheet before the outline?
Board is the beat sheet.
Board's the beat sheet. Yeah.
And the outline is more full. Is that it more explaining?
And that's actually something that the network will get, and that's kind of what you're getting noted on. So you kind of want to make it network proof too. You need to give them an idea of stuff, but give them enough specifics, but not get too bogged down with detail, but give them the idea.
Right.
Well, cool. That'd be so great to look at an outline.
Right. Can I just say one little thing
please.
in response to I thought your question was really interesting. What I've noticed about myself is I can't do 2 things at once. And I can't, I talk about the scene doing 3 things at once, which is what I like to do, but I can't do 3 things at once. I can do a version of the scene just to teach myself what's the story of the scene, what's happening in the scene. And then I keep going. And I go, what else could be happening? You know what I mean? In other words, similarly, I can't let myself flow and let myself get structured in the same draft. I have to let myself flow. That's my flow draft. I go out of order. I write stuff completely out of order. I make a big mess. I literally you will walk in and there's a big mess around me.
I've seen it.
And then I'm going to do a whole other draft where I really get real about structure and about. But, for instance, I've written a lot for TV. I leave it to the end to figure out where the act breaks are. A lot of times I'm going to figure that out at the end, because I'm going to see what's the moment that
It'll show you. It'll reveal itself to you.
Exactly.
But it's never done. You can't get a perfect draft that first time. It's impossible. It's not like a term paper that you write out perfectly.
Exactly.
We have time. We can take one more question.
I'm so sorry. I want to give one little piece of advice. No. That, like when you were saying I write out of order, I'll have scenes that I'm so excited to write that happen further down the outline. It's like, don't wait till you've earned the right to write them. Write them right now. You're on fire. You're inspired. Write it. You're going to get the best version of it. If you sit there and think, I can't wait to get to that one, and hold off. No, right now, because then you're going to have the self-esteem build up of, oh my God, now I'm a page and a half further than I was 25 minutes ago. I'm on a roll, and it just opens stuff up. Write the thing that is hitting you, that you're excited to write in the moment.
Totes.
That's great advice.
Totally. Should we take one more question?
Yeah. If we
that was
have
a great
one more question.
Do we have one more question?
All right, we're going to get these people out of here. I have 2 really quick, because I told them they would get out of here by 10. I have 2 really quick announcements. Next week, which is the last of our series, unless you bought the whole series, we have Florian Henkel von Donnersmarck, I got that right, who wrote and directed The Lives of Others. If you have not seen this movie, come next week as our guest. If you have not seen it, it is one of the best movies easily of the last 10 years. It came out the same year as Pan's Labyrinth. When I saw it, I thought this movie is going to win Best Foreign Film. And then when I saw Lives of Others, I was like, I'm okay if it won. And it did win the Oscar. And so we've got the writer-director here next week. Wednesday. So I hope you guys can make it. And one thing that has nothing to do with the foundation, this is completely self-serving. My friend Wendy Goldman and I are teaching a 6-week writing workshop, and it's all improv writing game. So you don't get up and perform, but it's improv writing games. So if you're
Everyone take it. That's awesome. It's a great thing.
And do you know Wendy Goldman? So it's Wendy Goldman and I.
That's awesome, though.
I met Wendy at the Groundlings, and there's a sheet out there where if you want to put your full name and email address, we'll get you the information. This particular workshop may be full, but at least we'll have your email address, and there may be another space or two. So that's all my self-serving stuff. But you guys, this was amazing. Thank you so much.
Really a pleasure.
We want to just say thank you, and we got to go to Calabasas. I have to go to Calabasas. I have kids, so we don't mean to be rude and run out. But thank you so much. Thanks, everybody.